But yeah, as always, I'll sort of start talking through State of Play, Clio, ShareDo, but also introduce vLex. When I was doing these slides, actually, it's amazing how quickly things move sometimes, because I was expecting to be able to copy some slides from the UserForum about, 3 months ago, but all of that stuff's new. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'll hand over and we'll do a demo as well, right? Which will be cool. We'll do a little, have a little break, we'll grab a cup of tea, have a poll or a survey. Then we're going to talk about what's coming in version 7.10 and sort of, features that are fairly imminent. We're trying to move away. I'm conscious that over the years, we've sort of started demoing stuff that's still quite a long way out. So we're moving towards only showing stuff that's quite imminent, which I think is probably a good thing. I'm going to hand over to Jen. Jen's going to talk us through some of the changes in customer success. The only bit of future roadmap we are going to talk about, since it's a hot topic, Fran's going to talk us through what we're doing next in finance version 3. We're not going to recap what we demoed a couple of times in terms of fees version 2. That stuff's well into test and we'll pop out of the product team pretty soon. And then we'll wrap up. So that's the plan for today. Let's get into it. I don't know if we did any timings or whether I'm going to stick to timings or not. I mean, I'm going to start by talking through like a review of the business. We've done this a few times, and it's nothing in terms of agenda. But I do want to touch on, I guess, a couple of initiatives, an initiative called Onboarding Accelerated, and I do want to talk about the major incident we had. I think it's important to discuss, both good and bad, right? All good. As always, on behalf of the ShareDo and the wider Clio team, I want to thank you. We really appreciate the trust and the investment that you put into us, and we always strive to deliver to those things. So it's not said tritely. A massive thank you to everyone and the trust you place in us. We've done this investment slide over the years, actually, because we treat it, the money you give us, fundamentally we invest in product and process and tools to hopefully enable you guys to deliver better legal business process. 2025 was a massive growth year, and we're still going through that growth, particularly in terms of headcount and onboarding people, as we all know, takes time to start to deliver benefits. But I think we're going to finish the year out with about 50 new people within the ShareDo business unit, and I think that's starting to deliver good results for you guys, right? Particular areas of actually, that's been across the entire business, right? We've also invested a lot in the R&D team. We spoke last time about all of the security stuff that we put into 7.9. I think that's yielded good results, and we've invested a lot into DevOps. I won't go through this verbatim. 2026 is going to be like this continuing theme of investment in large law firms. Software is going to carry on, broader than just ShareDo. It's a key sort of strategic theme of Clio. I think from a ShareDo team we'll grow less, which personally I think for the ShareDo people on this call, they're going to breathe a slight sigh of relief. It's been a lot of growth this year. I mean, obviously the biggest piece of investment is going to be vLex. I'm going to talk about that in more detail, but we're also looking to enhance a number of processes of product management. Basically making sure we're dealing with your enhancement requests a lot more effectively, and a lot of good stuff coming along in customer success onboarding. But so that investment theme continues very much so. For those who read the press around the vLex stuff, right? It's a big number. I wanted to touch next a little bit on how we view product and really use that as a springboard to talk about onboarding accelerated. So in terms of the sort of strategic themes for 2026 and all of the various feature requests that come through are sort of bundled within one of these themes. Certainly finance version 3 is a big initiative, and that team has grown quite significantly this year and still continuing to grow. And we will finally be pushing out fees version 2 pretty soon, and then moving on to billing, and Fran will talk about that stuff, right? So I won't go into that in detail. Continued focus on large law firms, which is a very much a catch-all theme, but includes integration with vLex, the document repository stuff I think we've spoken about in a previous thing, and basically better document drafting, new prep doc for those who talk ShareDo language, and all that good stuff. I won't cover North America because this isn't a North American UserForum currently, but it's interesting actually from a product roadmap. There's not a huge amount we need to do to support North America, so that's I guess for our UK customers and our Australian customers, that's probably a good thing because we're not massively, what's the right word, skewed from a product in order to satisfy North America. But something new, which we talked previously about simplifying the modeler experience, and there's a lot of features that are starting to come through to make some of the harder or areas of ShareDo that require a bit more tacit knowledge to configure. But we've broadened that initiative to encompass a lot more than just product, process, tools, knowledge, etc. And I'm just going to talk about that very quickly because I think it is super important, right? So if we look at our sort of top level delivery process from pre-sales, engaging with prospects, through defining or design, through to delivery, through to transition, through to go live and post go live support, I think collectively we'd all share the view that it takes a bit too long, and I think we'd all share collectively that there's too much effort required, whether that's our team, our partners' team, or indeed, your internal teams, right? And I think it requires too much expert knowledge. I mean, it's never going to be easy putting in operational systems, right? And ShareDo is a key operational app. It's just never going to be easy. The change management associated with it, let alone the configuration of X number of practice groups, is always going to be a significant undertaking. Nevertheless, our view is through better process, better product, better tools, we can address some of these things and bring them in. So how is this successful? It's about reducing the amount of time, it's about reducing the number of man days, and it's about simplifying the delivery of ShareDo. What does that entail? So this is a big program of work for us that's being staffed up at the moment. And most people, I suspect, or at least 50% of the people on this call, I reckon, would have met Stu McClatchley. So it's not just a ShareDo initiative. We want to talk to all of our customers as well to understand your pain points, how we can help you to deliver more ShareDo-ness, if that's a word, out to your end customers. So I imagine Stu will be getting in contact with various people, and if you want to join that world and input into this sort of strategic theme, then please drop Stu or myself an email. Indeed, feel free about anything else as well. That's an animation there. Sure, it's a good one. I'm not going to go through this slide. So we've done quite a lot of work on understanding what some of these things might do. I think we'll talk about this in future forums, but we're starting to, I mean, right from, and it's not a micro thing, but right from changing the way we import, export, and supporting solution packages and being able to analyze different requirements, through to placing a lot of emphasis on supporting you guys with change management, which is always a key issue when putting live any key operational system. So lots of good stuff. We're at this thinking stage mainly, but this is going to be a theme that we're going to introduce on probably the user forums for the next, I was guessing about 18 months, something like that. Okay. Moving on, I just wanted to talk about the production outages that we had. I think it's important, I mean, plainly, back to the first slide, right? You place a huge amount of trust in us. And I think we've been very fortunate that it's the first major incident of this type that we've had. But nevertheless, you can't take that lightly, right? At the end of the day, you know, there's a huge number of lawyers who were interrupted on Friday afternoon, and that carried on for some time. So, pardon me. I'm not going to dwell on, I guess, and I'll talk a little bit about the root causes. Actually, no, I'll focus on more about the remediation plan and some of the positives. So I think if I was to look at the business where it was, you know, whatever 12 months ago versus the business where it is today, certainly we're benefiting from scale in terms of the responsiveness. So it was a very serious issue. It took a long time. We were in contact with Microsoft to try and get some stuff resolved, and it properly followed the sun. So there was people, obviously the core UK team were working on it. We had people working on it in Vancouver. I think our comms was pretty good. We're getting, I think we've got reasonable feedback in terms of that, and it's always balancing, I think, as Jen will attest to, letting people crack on and get the things sorted versus, you know, constantly going, you know, proverbially, how's it going? I think we did a good job, but as always, if you felt we could do things better, I've personally spoken to a couple of customers. Feedback is always good, right? So again, feel free to email me, feel free to email Jenny and let us know. What we're doing to make sure it doesn't happen, actually, no, you can never predict it's not going to happen again, but we're gonna, if you imagine that all of your different customer tenants are pretty isolated, right? But they do use some shared services, and when you see a shared service issue, which is what we saw, that can impact all customers. So our direction of travel on this, and I will give you an update at the next user forum, is to further isolate each of the tenants. I think we're pretty good, so to date, that we don't get noisy neighbour syndrome. So if one tenant or one of your environments is super busy, maybe you're firing a lot of events at it or running a lot of workloads, it never impacts other environments. But I think we can get better in terms of that isolation. So that initially, the remediation steps have been kicked off, and hopefully those get actioned, I'm guessing, over the coming weeks. So as always, appreciate the trust. And when something does happen, it was slightly a perfect storm. Like, we're going to learn from it and make sure at least this incident doesn't happen again. Yeah. I don't know if there's any questions on there, or I'll keep marching on.
No questions so far. Cool.
Happy days. The next thing I wanted to talk about, we're going to introduce this in a poll. I don't know how that magic's going to happen, but is some of the brand changes as we, I guess, become more part of the world of Clio. If you look across the Clio product groups, they've got Clio Manage, which I guess is very similar to ShareDo in terms of what it's aiming to achieve for law firms, Clio Grow, Clio Draft, etc. So certainly there's no quick changes here, but we thought it was probably not a bad idea to understand, and they all follow like a Clio verb, right? So we were ShareDo, we're now ShareDo, the rather snappily titled, in my opinion, ShareDo part of Clio. And we're going to evolve to Clio plus a Verb. The current thinking is it might be Clio Operate, but we were really keen that we actually asked customers what resonates best with you. So other options that I think are sitting on the table are Scale, Catalyst. Flex always makes me laugh slightly because it always feels like someone going like this, but Adapt, Amplify, and I think I'm going to post a poll, because actually if it resonates with you, then that's good, whereas and it should, it should come from you guys, right? Oh, that's popped up right on the screen. I'm going to skip that. It's magic, this software, isn't it? Cool. So I think that's popped up on your screen. We are, I'm really interested in you guys' opinion on this stuff. And there it is. Happy days. You're getting a load of verboseness from Ben, this user forum, so I'll keep marching on. Yeah, it seems strange how time flies, doesn't it? I'm sure this happened before the last user forum, but plainly it hasn't. I'm really excited about the vLex stuff, and we're gonna introduce you to vLex people and do a demo so you can get a feel for this. But I was going to talk about what it means for you guys, and put a little bit of a timeline around it. I'm going to start by, I don't know if people have been on the vLex website or understand their products very well, but I'm going to have a go at articulating this, and I'll probably fail dismally, I imagine, and I look forward to being corrected. I'm going to introduce you to Robin, who's the Director of Product at vLex in a short while. So hopefully Robin can correct me when I get this wrong, or at least give me a mark out of 10, Robin. Is that okay for how I articulate this?
No problem.
Cool, thank you. So yeah, in the vLex product groups, there's three key products: Vincent vLex Library, I think that's the right term, and Docket Alarm. I'm not going to focus on Docket Alarm because that's the North American market, and brings sort of e-filings and all that sort of stuff into. So when I look at it, there's a legal research database that's been harvested across a huge number of jurisdictions and has, I don't know what the number is, but billions and billions of documents, right? So that's the foundation, I guess, of vLex, is all this legal content, and you can use that as a legal research tool, and there's some smart search and smart AI stuff on top of that. And then Vincent, I think, is where that, all of that data and AI that needs to be, as we're all aware, needs to be grounded in proper data, is the workflow. I think it's more user workflow offering, where you can take a document and then grounded in that legal research, you can say, analyze that contract, create pleadings, look at redline, and all the the wonderful legal tools that are available there. I'm not going to do any more on that. I think I scored about 3. So what I'm going to do is talk about timeline, and then talk a little bit about what I see some of the business opportunities for you guys being. So timeline, we are separate companies. So I think about 5 customers expressed interest following the announcement, and that was all over the press, right? But we're completely separate companies. We're not sharing any data, all of that sort of stuff. So hopefully it's, if you expressed interest by Jenny or Jenny's team or anyone within ShareDo, they're going to literally sort of hand you over to vLex to look after you. Shortly, and I think it is fairly imminent, if you go, yeah, I'd like to use any of the vLex tools or products, then you can do that in a single commercial agreement with Clio, which I think it makes it easier for you guys. I'm not sure the exact timeline. when vLex and Clio become one. That's the right word. But I think it's sort of maybe mid to late October. There's some pending regulatory approval stuff that's I think is going on. But yeah, in this sort of time frame, so not a large amount of time. And then in a similar way, when we became part of Clio, there was a lot of I hate this word, but I keep using it all the time, amplification. So a lot of investment, right, in people, processes. And within ShareDo, we've met a huge number of the vLex team. They're a really nice bunch, really like them. So I think there's lots of really good stuff we can do in terms of product and product roadmaps, and I'll talk about that in a second. I'm hoping that by the end of the year, we'll be launching the MVP. I think it's more than MVP of the integration. I'm not going to talk about that now because we're trying to do less future stuff and more real stuff. But as that comes out, we'll share that stuff, no doubt. And you will be able to turn that stuff on with your tenant and have a play. I mean, plainly, if you want to do a trial before that, that's really easy to facilitate, right? And then we spent a huge amount of time, not just within ShareDo, within broader Clio and vLex, looking at all of these use cases. And I'll just talk about that in a second. It's very quiet on the questions front. I'm just wondering if it's working. Normally, at least we've had a bit of questions go on.
No, it's definitely working. We've had a few comments around the name.
Oh right, okay, cool. Oh, that's good. Hopefully not sarcastic ones.
Not yet.
All right, okay, that's good. Right, yeah. I mean, I thought, like, plainly, I'm not a lawyer. So I mean, I think the result of this integration can only be judged by lawyers and making them more efficient. So we're conscious, very conscious actually in ShareDo, that we can only take process so far, right? We can maybe help you a little bit with drafting a document, but can we help you with any of the legal analysis that is part of that end-to-end business process? No, we're just not that tool, right? We're all about helping you manage your legal business more effectively. vLex can do a lot of that. It's first dog bark. It's not my dog, so that's good. Happy days. Yeah, so but vLex can do that. And when I look at a business process that might start in ShareDo and then stops at a certain point, I think we can carry on that business process a lot more effectively and ultimately enable you to deliver quicker, better, and potentially more cost-effective results for your end clients. And I think when we're looking at the integration of this, we need to facilitate that from a UX perspective, right? Make it super easy to run ad hoc business processes. But actually, I think this potentially opens up new services you might be able to offer to your clients. So the example we're playing with, and you guys are gonna, I mean, I think the beauty of ShareDo is that I look across some of the client examples, and people are now coming up with use cases, ways to configure ShareDo service offerings that we've never even considered, and that's the beauty, I think, of having tooling where you can create, right? So the example that we're playing around with, but you guys, again, I think are going to create a lot more exciting things of this, is almost offering a contract review service to your client, right? Now, you could configure a ShareDo client portal. You could put an upload thing on there, and they can upload their contract, right? That could then kick off a workflow, which would do a fee arrangement or add it as a line item. It would then send it to vLex, who would run a contract analysis on it. Plainly, a human needs to be in the loop, so then it maybe pushes that back to a lawyer to review the output, double check on it. They go, yes, it's fine. So one button, some review time, and it goes back to the client. And I think if if you look at that as a, maybe it's a service offering you're offering for, I don't know, 500 quid fixed price or whatever it might be, right? I think we can really help you guys manage some of those processes in a very, very efficient way, and everyone's going to win. Like, hopefully you guys win from better margins, your client wins from better responsiveness and potentially even accuracy as well, right? So I think it opens up a huge amount of opportunities. I was just going to put it in perspective with some of the other things we're doing. A question from Simon. I'm definitely going to defer to the vLex people on the call to that one. I'm still learning this stuff. I was going to put this in context with, I guess, some of the things we've been thinking about in terms of assistance. So we demoed ShareDo Ask, I think, a couple of times. That's actually in the code base in version 7.10, but we're going to turn it off because I think it needs a little bit of rework in how we think about the world of assistance. So this is a future slide, albeit a lot of this stuff is getting pretty mature now. So if we think about the life cycle of legal matter, right, from intake, case formation, case management research, whatever it might be in this curve, having AI assistants that can make this journey easier and quicker is super powerful, we believe, rather than potentially a generic tool. So when we demoed Ask previously, it was very much where we're sort of targeting it, I think, is almost an admin assistant, right? It sits within the Word plugin, it sits within Outlook, and it enables you to do, it's there to help you. Create a task. Can you tell me about this information? Can you shove that in my document? So it's quite unintelligent in many ways, as a lot of AI is, and then we've been working on the pricing system for a while, so that will pop out, and it's there to assist you with pricing and resourcing or estimating matters correctly. And I'm not sure, I think all of these names are going to change, by the way, but very much I see vLex as being a very, very powerful legal assistant, and there will be more and more to come. So I'm sincerely hoping that Ask will be renamed as an admin and come out in 7.11, probably, almost certainly actually, with some of the vLex features that we've been working on. Cool. Okay. That's definitely a lot of verboseness. Bloody hell, it's half an hour from Ben. Apologise. No chance of staying on track. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Robin, who's going to talk to you a little bit about vLex. Over to you, Robin.
Thank you very much, Ben. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Robin Chesterman. I'm Director of Product at vLex. I can see on my camera, it looks like I'm sitting in the dark. I promise that I'm not. I am actually sitting in a reasonably well-lit room. It just looks a little gloomy. I am Director of Product at vLex, so ultimately responsible for figuring out what we're going to build and talking to customers and figuring out how it needs to be, and then working with engineers to build the best thing that we possibly can. For anyone who doesn't know vLex or our AI offering, Vincent is the name of our main AI proposition. So Vincent is really now one of the big 5 offerings, that I'd say big 5 holistic offerings, the applications that are like the big workspace, the AI workspace that can do sort of everything for the enterprise firm when it comes to AI. So when I say big 5, I'm thinking of Harvey and Legora and CoCounsel and Lexis AI, and Vincent is in that category. There's not very many of them. It used to be big 2. It used to just be Lexis and Westlaw in enterprise, and now generative AI has changed all that, and you really can say that there are 5 big contenders for that in that bracket. So it's an AI platform that can do very, very many things, from legal research to drafting to document analysis, and I'll show you through some of those. But as a little background on vLex itself, it's probably worth knowing where vLex came from. So vLex is not a young company, at least 20 years old, vLex is itself, and it's also a combination of a few companies. In 2019, vLex bought Justice, which is a company that I worked for a long time. And they were both gatherers of content, lots and lots and lots of legal data, cases and statutes and regulations from all over the world. vLex was sort of civil law jurisdictions like Spain and mainland Europe and Latin America, and Justice was common law jurisdictions, you know, UK and Ireland and Caribbean and Australia, Canada, Southeast Asia, and lots of others that I'm forgetting. And then in 2022, 23, I'm mixing my years up, in 2023, we acquired Fastcase, which was had coverage of the US. So all three of these companies were at least 20 or 30 years old and gatherers of data, gatherers of legal content. So cumulatively, 60 or 70 years of gathering legal data. And that's really what sets Vincent apart from a lot of the others. It is a kind of holistic AI tool, but it's sitting on top of a platform of probably the world's largest collection of legal data from countries all over the world. If you were coloring in the world map, and I think sometimes the vLex CEO probably is, you know, we're doing quite well. We've got a whole lot of coverage, and Vincent is able to take advantage of that.
Robin, we've got
yes.
a question in the chat, and if you can't answer it, that's okay. But the question's from Stuart Whittle, and it's where does vLex get its UK legal content from?
Sure. So the it depends on how far you go back. So different I don't know, centuries. I guess we have different things. We used to digitize some of the really ancient stuff. We get the legislation from legislation.gov, and we have our own editors who bring the consolidated state of that up to be better than what you get from legislation.gov. The case law Justice were saying this for years, and it's true. We have more published and unpublished cases than anyone else because we got it from courts, we got it from publishing partners, we got it from transcribers, we got it from basements of law libraries where we digitize stuff. Justice was a gathering company. It takes a very long time to do, and I think it's very hard to replicate what we've managed to put together as those three companies. If it were easy, then I guess vLex wouldn't have been acquired for the princely sum of $1 billion. So I think that's one of the reasons why this is such an exciting proposition, because to have this data and bring it to, you know, the generative AI world that we now live in. So if that answers the question, many sources, but we can go into detail maybe offline and cover exactly what we've got and where we get it from.
Do you know what, Robin? We've got questions coming in thick and fast for you. So what I'm going to suggest is maybe if we let you do your presentation, and then I'm going to point you to the questions area.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind then just kind of maybe answering a few of these questions,
Sure.
so we don't derail you.
Okay, sure. Right, well, I'll start with legal research. As I said, Vincent does many things, from research to document analysis to drafting to, you know, document review of huge sets of documents. We'll start with legal research because that's where Vincent began. And we were always a legal research company. And the idea is that you can ask it a legal research question and it's going to go away, it's going to find the answer, but it's not going to do it like ChatGPT does it. It's not just finding it in its model training or its hazy model memory. It's using a term which is quite common now, you've probably heard of retrieval augmented generation, which is fetching data from the vLex database and using that to answer the question. So if I were to ask, what are the legal standards for proving discrimination in employment law cases? This is just a sample. You could ask anything. You can pick the jurisdiction as well. We've got 17 there, and you can go into sub-jurisdictions like England and Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland. So I'll pick a question and we'll leave it running. Takes about a minute to come up with a full answer. So what it's doing is it's visiting the vLex database and it's pulling back all of the cases and the statutes and secondary sources and whatever other sort of administrative decisions and things that we have on vLex that may answer the question. And it's doing a this was almost like deep research before deep research was a thing. So it's finding all the sources. It's using a large language model to assess how each of the passages in the sources answers the question. It's presenting it on the right-hand side with a summary of how it answers the question, a little score of how it answers the question, and also an extract from the original document that answers the question that you put in. I'll go to one that I've finished so we can actually just see what it looks like when it's done. So it's basically legal authorities on the right, and then a draft or a summarization on the left of what they all say. So we've got a short summary at the top, we've got a breakdown of the legislative framework, breakdown of the case law. These, of course, are all linked to the full text sources on the vLex platform, which underlies this. So one thing that we can say is we've made source verification front and center here. Like it's 50% of the screen real estate really is about verifying your sources. That's the very next thing that you need to do. This is very much a trust but verify exercise. You want to trust the answer, but any serious legal professional is going to need to trust their sources, and we're making that as easy as possible. At the end, there's usually a section around exceptions and caveats, because what you often find with large language models, if you were to just ask ChatGPT, or it changes, the personality changes, but generally the criticism is that they're too sycophantic and that they tell you what you want to hear. Vincent is very much trained not to do that, and or prompted not to do that, and tell you everything that you need to know around the area. So it will tell you around the area, it will tell you caveats, exceptions. Also, if there is no authority in the vLex database to answer your question, Vincent will say that. And sometimes not having an answer is an important outcome, because there is no answer in the authorities. It's not just going to make up an answer, which is something that you get from other tools. We don't do that, and we're quite strict about not doing that. That's legal research. I don't want to dwell too much on it because there's a few things to cover. We have other sort of takes on legal research. So build an argument is a similar exercise, but you basically describe the facts of the matter and the goals or your outcomes or what you want to do. And Vincent is going to use the same format to get authorities and then actually build an argument that you can litigate with. We have a similar one, which is explore a legal proposition, where you actually state the proposition and say whether you want something in support of or in opposition to it. And of course, people don't just use that for their own side, they use it for the other side to see what kind of arguments that they're going to come up against. So that's a pretty good one for the litigators. Being a international company that vLex always has been, we have a compare jurisdictions research one. So here I can ask the same question across, well, up to 17 jurisdictions, but way more than that if you count the states in the United States to be individual. I think I have one prepared there. Let me see. Yeah, so it puts it in a table. It's the same research exercise with all of the authorities, and it's got the full answer, it's got short answer, full answer, it's got the authorities, but for all of the countries which I selected. This is great for law firms that have clients doing business all over the world, or even just have offices all over the world. There's two things you can say about doing that kind of exercise or these kinds of questions, these multi-jurisdictional things. One is it takes an unbelievable amount of time, and the second thing is that they tend to be the kind of questions that when you finish doing the exercise, you have to go and do it again, because it's out of date. And if it's something about the regulatory landscape, you have to do it again. It's a bit like painting the fourth bridge. You've finished, and now you've got to go back and do it all over again. So Vincent is great and set up to be able to do that and run it in parallel. And you can set it up and then run it again and again and again, as many times as you need. Those are the main research ones that we've got, the build and arguments, the compare jurisdictions, and the standard ask a research question. And then we also have the kind of document analysis ones. So for litigation, there will be analyzing a complaint, and transactional, analyzing a contract. If I just pick one, and I'll pick a sample here, you just upload a document, or you can incorporate it from your document management system of choice. We currently integrate with iManage. We will be doing, of course, more integration with ShareDo and the other things that they offer. If I just pick a sample, I think this is Prince Harry suing the Daily Mail. It's going to analyze the document, and based on the content and the type of the document, Vincent's going to suggest things that it can help me with. So if I just go back to, I'll skip ahead to save time. Here are the examples. So given that it was a complaint, it's asked me if I would like to extract and analyze the claims, extract a timeline of all of the facts, propose defenses to each claim, or analyze the parties, draft a questionnaire for clients. These are all suggestions from Vincent, and they're not just suggestions of things that Vincent can do. These are suggestions of things that Vincent can do particularly well. So over the past few years at vLex, we've built up a lot of legal prompt engineering expertise, and that's very much baked into the system. So the prompting behind proposing defenses is going to give you a very lawyerly answer, something that you actually want, citing the authorities and the jurisdiction and doing it right. You could spend a long time trying to write that prompt yourself, but we don't want people to have to do that. So we're catering for the main use cases that you may have. You can ask any question when you upload a document, of course. You can do whatever you want, just like any tool, you can ask it whatever you want. But what we've found is lawyers really like there to not be a blank slate problem. Even this far into the AI journey, and we're a couple of years into people using general AI tools, even this far into it, there's still a lot of that blank slate problem. You just give someone a box and say, go. People don't really know the best way to use it. They don't have the confidence that they're uploading the right thing or saying it the right way, they don't know the tricks to get the best out of it. So all of these presets are they are things that we're going to do very well for you, and we've made it do it well. Some of those are actually legal research questions. So given that this was Prince Harry suing the Daily Mail, it's suggested some legal research questions around public figure defamation and aggravated damages and defamation. That was a complaint. Analyze a contract is a similar kind of vibe, but obviously the suggestions are going to be entirely different, because if I analyze a contract, it's going to suggest that I might want to extract all of the definitions and verify how they're used, look for overlaps or inconsistencies in the contract, identifying client hostile language or doing risk mitigation. These are all things that you may want to do with your contract. Again, these are all things that Vincent is set up to handle particularly well. Document review is our kind of, this is a big table tool. This is a very special tool for interacting with large numbers of documents, where the format is basically documents in the rows and questions or LLM prompts in the columns. So if I just if I go back and I'll pick a good example for that. I think I have an NDA review where I uploaded a bunch of non-disclosure agreements, and there are the presets baked in here. So you've got I can't remember how many presets there are. There's about maybe 10 or 12. This was NDA review, where we had the columns are the parties, purpose of disclosure, definition of confidential information. Each column is whatever you want to prompt for. So it's got notices, but you can also edit the question that you actually want. So this is basically doing a, X by Y, prompting across lots and lots of documents. And this is really, really powerful for mass document review. We have got a bunch of other tools, maybe less wow, but no less useful, like creating timelines or summarizing documents, translating documents, comparing documents. These are standard things that people need to use it for. Analyzing depositions. We've got some, these are fun ones. I'll mention them even though you're not really a US market yet, but one of the big data sets that we have is Docket Alarm, which is all of the federal and state litigation filings in the US, like 1 billion documents there. You can use these tools to profile parties and law firms and lawyers and judges and find precedents and things. The profile ones are fun. You just ask it, tell me something about Alex Spiro, lawyer, and it will go and find his cases and then have a look at all of the filings there and take a sample and then give you a profile of that. It's really good for preparing for what you're going to be up against. And then drafting. This is brand new. Drafting is really, you can give it instructions about the type of document that you want to draft. This is a drafting from scratch workflow. So you tell it the type of thing that you want to draft. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then it's going to give you an outline of the full thing, and then it's going to then it's going to build out all of the sections, and then we're working on the redrafting aspect, so it can come back in and edit bits bit by bit. Now, one of the interesting things here is that the legal data underneath this and asking research questions is not constrained to the research workflows. It's everywhere in Vincent. You can do, we have all of these workflows on the home screen. You can do most of them just from the chat box at the top, and Vincent will direct itself and do the right thing. You could be talking about a contract, you could ask a compliance thing, you could ask a legal research question. In the middle of the conversation, Vincent will step in and do the research and bring it back and make that part of the conversation context. So it's really, compared to some of the other tools, and I won't name them when I'm comparing them, but not a lot of the other tools have the legal data that we have. I'd like to say that this is an AI that knows the law, and why would you want one that doesn't? Is sort of what it comes down to. I think that's that's my whistle-stop tour. I think that's everything that I want to show. Obviously, we could go into any of these in more detail, but just to give you the big picture, Vincent is very capable AI workflow platform and workspace. We're doing one of the biggest drivers we're working on now is drafting, like a drafting canvas to author things, and of course we're integrating deeply with Clio. I don't think it's a spoiler that ClioCon is in 3 weeks' time, and they'd like to announce something. You can imagine they want to announce something. So we've been going hell for leather trying to put that together. It's a very exciting prospect because Vincent has always been matterless. It doesn't know about the matter that you're working on in as much as you can tell it whatever you want when you're prompting, but when integrating with something like Clio, like a matter management solution, it knows the matter context. It will know the people in the matter, what's happened, recent things, recent stuff. So it's getting smarter and smarter all the time, learning about what you're actually working on, so that it's not just coming in cold. And I think we can expect similar integration excitement with ShareDo.
Yeah, I mean, Robin's you've been battered with questions, so I think
I haven't even looked yet. I just saw them trickling in, but let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I just personally, I've just got so excited about the use cases it opens up, and I think you need to be really conscious of setting the wrong expectations. But having said that, I'm just going to talk about something that I'm quite excited about. So I've been working with an M&A lawyer about, and it's really early envisaging stuff, right, about how you might make really complex M&A matters a lot more manageable. And there's a lot of work to achieve that. We need to finish up a load of the work we're doing with repos v2. But imagine an M&A matter where you've got tens and tens of thousands of documents. You've got a huge team of people analysing them. Getting the various questions, seeing if they've been supported by evidence from the selling party, and then you imagine a world where actually some of these workflows can be called automatically. Some of the results can then be presented to that team of lawyers. So you've got legal project management, you've got automation of a lot of the analysis, and that team of lawyers can then look at the results and with the backing of legal research. And so for some of those really massive matters, I think the opportunity to add, oh, my dogs are finally kicking off. Ah, cool. The opportunity to add extra process efficiencies to that with humans always in the loop, plainly, I think is super exciting. And that's like a big complex example, but right down to creating an automatic timeline, so enriching ShareDo's chronology with a timeline of the incident if it was a dispute, right? I think there's so many opportunities, and I think actually the bit we're struggling with perhaps is prioritizing them all. So I'm really keen we get this sort of MVP in front of you guys, and then I imagine that across all the people on the call, that's quite a lot today, isn't it? That you're already coming up with lots of use cases yourself, and we very much want to, as I know vLex do, want to work hand in hand to do that stuff. But yeah, cool.
Sorry. Shall I try and rattle through some of the questions? I can see some quite short answers. So does it include other jurisdictions in the EU? The answer is yes. We have Spain and Ireland and Portugal and France and Italy. We would like to bring Germany online quite soon. We have generally had a very high threshold of the amount or the quality and the depth of content that we require on vLex before we make it a Vincent jurisdiction. So we have a lot of German content, but we've currently held the line that we don't have enough to put it on Vincent, because we want the experience to be that when you ask Vincent any question within reason, any domestic legal research question, it can just answer it. Other people have taken other approaches. I know that Harvey, for example, announced some other some other countries that they've brought on, and I think Germany is just federal legislation, so they bring it on and they say, hey, we've got a federal legislation database, you can use that. That's not a bad approach, and we may end up going there because we have more German content than them, but we don't have it on the platform. So we're just deciding what our appetite is for bringing those on, or how we want to do it. But we do have a few, and we're getting more. We already have Luxembourg, and we've got Netherlands content on vLex. Those are ones that we're trying to get onto Vincent as soon as possible. I think towards the end of this year, we're having a push. Once we get the first Clio merger stuff out of the way, getting more EU stuff content, more EU content onto Vincent from vLex, because there's this superset of stuff that's on vLex, is something we want to do towards the end of the year. Mechanisms for minimizing hallucination. When you do a research question and it's fetching the authorities from the vLex database using that retrieval augmented generation, I don't want to say that the risk is zero, but it's approaching zero, the risk of hallucination, because it's using sources that we are providing. At that point, the LLM is really just doing a fancy summarization exercise. It's a fancy evaluation and summarization to bring those sources together. We do not get complaints of hallucinations in legal research. Now, when you're in other aspects or other avenues and you're just chatting away and analyzing a contract and you ask about some regulations, Vincent's very good at stepping in and realizing when it is a research question. When it doesn't do that and is answering from the model's training, we nonetheless have like a post-processing step to say there are citations or there's authorities in this answer that have not been verified, and they're not links, and they have a little flag saying they're not verified. We're working on the UX on that, because when they're not verified, often the first question you have is, well, why aren't they? But there's different levels of verification that you have to do. One is like, can I link it? Is the citation right? Or is the authority right, but the citation is wrong or the spelling is wrong? And then obviously the more complicated one is, it's a sort of accurate case, but it's been used in the wrong context. It's being used to argue something that's not actually what it says. So we're building in more protective tools like that for pure legal research. Is very, 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 very strong. And we have quite a lot of checks and balances in the other ones, in the other avenues, and we're doing more. Since new cases can overrule and modify earlier cases, how do we ensure that we're not up to date? Very interesting question, that one, because you can have something that has been good law for centuries or decades, and then spins on a dime and it's not anymore. We have a citator built into vLex. It's something that is it was a huge piece of technology in the US. There was a company called Judicata that was acquired by Fastcase, that was then acquired by vLex. And then we have editors, legal editors, doing it in the UK, marking up all of these annotations, like, has it been overruled, has it been approved, has it been distinguished, all of that treatment stuff that you expect in a citator. That's all fed to Vincent when you answer the question. And it's not just like Vincent ignores overruled cases, because that
Have we?
I think we might have broken Robin.
I think we have broken volume. There's such a huge volume of questions.
In the chat, while he catches up, I saw a really interesting use case the other day. I can't remember which video I was watching. It was a Vincent one, where a client had used the tool, or they were using the tool to do the base analysis, and then presenting that base analysis to their law firm to then say, hey, we've just done the work of what they said, 40 lawyers in 3 minutes. Go now challenge this is where you add the value. And I think that's a really interesting thing that we're all, exposed to, is, where we start to add the value, rather than we take 40 lawyers 2 weeks to do the analysis. So it was pretty interesting.
Robin's lost his internet connection. I think what we should do then, right? I mean, this stuff is moving so quickly, both on all fronts, actually. I mean, my hope is. Hey, back.
Am I back? So I thought, from my point of view, I never left, because I could hear you all perfectly, and so I was ranting. I'm here. So, like, Sixth Sense or something. I was like, I'm here. No one can. It's not 6 cents. What is it where he's just speaking and no one can hear him? Something like that. Yeah. So on the citator one, there's a quick example of where we do have those kind of badges, and like we said, this is distinguished in this case. That is, it's a key part of the vLex platform, and so it's fed into Vincent as well. There was something about accuracy. Yes, as Philip said, these authorities are scored and they drop off once they get below a score. We always get asked what the score is based on and what kind of algorithm that is. It's actually asking a large language model, how well does this answer the question? And it turns out that happens to be a very good way of scoring it, but it's not a very easy way to explain exactly what's going on under there. Can it interrogate the documents and data and link to the research for that context? Yes. So that's, I think if I understood the question, that is this example that we were looking at. This is I think a government procurement contract, and it's suggested some research questions. I may want to look at data processing outside the EU and legal requirements for risks of public sector contracts to do with personal data. So it does recommend research and regulations that you may want to look into related to the documents that you've uploaded. Is vLex used outside of the legal market with companies? Yes, we have a lot of corporate customers now as well, and like in-house legal departments are now using Vincent. This is a huge trend that we've seen over the past couple of years, because we're saying, you know, look how much you can do before you have to go and get outside counsel. And then I know our salespeople are saying to the outside counsel, look at what your clients can do all by themselves, which is a little bit like arms dealing, but it is what it is. So we do have a lot of corporates using that.
Robin, we have a few insurers who are our clients as well, so I'm guessing a lot of the dispute-focused workflows would be applicable to them. Is that true? Or
yes,
not?
Yes, it is. And also, we're not going to have time to talk about it now, but Vincent Studio is our sort of no-code environment for designing and building your own workflows. And that's getting some traction now. We just launched or finished the beta of it, where you can actually use the tools that we use to build the workflows, to bring your own prompts and your own data and then publish them for your users at your firm, so or your organization. So that's a really interesting area of growth. How do we measure and monitor translation accuracy? We measure a lot of things. Translation accuracy is not something that we're currently benchmarking or checking. It's about as good as any of the large language models because it's using the latest models to do translation. They tend to be very good. We don't get a lot of complaints because, I mean, large language models are better at translating than Google Translate has ever been. I don't know why they don't switch that, because Google Translate is embarrassing now compared to what a large language model can do. So we are not currently measuring translation accuracy, but we're not getting any complaints either. LLMs tend to be really good at this stuff, although given that you sound, Aaron, like you know what you're doing with this, you've probably come across a few problems, so maybe we can talk about that. Large volume jobs or large volume translation jobs, we have a bunch of different chunking strategies for long documents and then large numbers of documents, and how you're going to give a bit to the large language model and not break the context window. It's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse to talk about exactly how those strategies work, but we do have them because people upload all kinds of lengthy, difficult documents into these systems. That was another one around document volume, how it needs to be formatted. We support a bunch of different formats that you can upload. We also support audio and video. I didn't mention that. So you can upload recordings of, say, a deposition or a transcript or something like that, and it will do the analysis and turn it into produce a transcript, and then you can use that as if you'd uploaded the writing. Timeline for integration with ShareDo has already been answered. Incorporating Sally. Damien Reel, good friend of mine, loves Sally and wants us to do more. Of course he does, and we will. I was just saying in the break, Vincent is really quite young. It's a couple of years old. We've been going pretty hard. I would like to see more Sally and more taxonomy in here. Damien chastises me for not having done more by now. He says, because he works here, he says the cobbler's children have no shoes. So he wants to see more Sally in this tool, and that is something that you will see, yes, because I think it's great to be able to have some standardization. It does support multiple languages. Certainly English, Spanish, and Portuguese are the main ones because those are the languages of jurisdictions that we support. You can ask it to translate into almost any language you can think of, and it'll do a pretty good job at that. In terms of the user interface, we have English, Spanish, French, and Italian. I believe that's where you actually switch vLex into that language.
We've killed Robin again.
Yeah, I think let's. I'm conscious of time because I did say right at the start we're definitely not going to overrun this time. So I'm sure Robin will carry on answering questions on the poll. And I guess like if there is interest, we could run a separate one of these just focused on the Vincent vLex stuff if you guys would find that useful. So again, just put it in the chat, go, yeah, I want to do that, and we'll just set up a separate one on that. It feels like we're going to do anti-thunder for the rest because that was quite exciting. But nevertheless, we'll try and we'll go back on. You got me for a little bit, and then I will shut up. So what were we going to do? We were going to look at a little bit about 7.10, what's coming, and then going to talk a little bit, as always, about data and a little bit about AI. So let's carry on with that. Let me share my screen, and we're over there. I think we're getting there in terms of reducing our release cadence. Our releases became too big, they took too long. So what we're starting, I think we solved this, is basically moving through releases a lot more quickly. Still delivering a fair chunk of value. The product team has grown significantly over the last 6 months, and it takes about 4 months for a new member of the product team to start really contributing quickly. So I think our feature velocity is going to go up, but we're going to try and keep our release cadence down. The picture on 7.10 seems to be changing almost daily, but my best guess is release candidates just about arriving. So what does that mean? That means you could take it into one of your tenants if you wanted to. But it's still in QA, and I think we'll start release that to market. I'm guessing either end of the month, early October, something like that. Broadly, I've included the chart on the right. So what we're doing is basically tracking where we are in terms of completion, and it all needs to go green, right? We weren't there yesterday. We would have moved a bit further on today, but it goes up and down daily. So. Yeah, so that stuff's coming. What is in it? It's still quite a big one, actually. It's got 36 features. Defects are going up and down. It's got a lot of customer requests in 7.10, so we try to clear a backlog of those. I'm not going to demo these because we've demoed them previously. If you need to know more, then again, reach out to your customer success manager, and we can help you with that, but plainly all the normal sort of release notes and stuff will go along with that. But I'll talk through these very quickly. I'm going to demo. We've demoed Report Builder a few times. I think Dunk did it last time. I will show that very briefly, just because I think it's important in terms of when you do this upgrade. Workflow analytics, we've demoed that previously. I think Ash showed that. But basically, it's a load of analytics, charting, alerting, all around managing very large volumes of workflows and assisting you to optimize those. So within your tenant, you're free to create as many workflows as you like, and my God, some people create a lot of them, and they run very busy. So this is about helping you to understand which workflows are causing blockages or consuming resources, etc. As always, in any release, you get a load more workflow blocks. What we do behind the scenes is when we see people using the JavaScript block, which is like your generic, you can do anything with it, and we see patterns of people using JavaScript blocks for the same thing and again, we basically turn that into one of the classic sort of visual designer blocks. So every release has a few, I'm guessing there's probably half a dozen in there. We're pushing a few feature enhancements to bundling, and there's going to be a lot more coming in 7.11. I think, Yaron's going to talk about that. I won't talk about that. We're pushing a feature for email signatures. You can manage that policy of what the email signature should be. Very similar to Exchange and Outlook, right? Into a global level or a user level or whatever, but basically managing the email signatures more effectively. We're slowly rolling out better integrated search. I think we did Office 365 first. I can't remember whether we've done NetDocs or not. I think we might have done it. But we're rolling out, better integrated search within the document repository widget. There's always a load of UX enhancements. I've just called out a couple. We're still enhancing list views every release. I think we've done some extra stuff for the document repo. So they're ongoing minor tweaks. I thought it was always worth to call out. So part of being a custodian of ShareDo code base is we put a load into it. I mean, we move very, very quickly, but also we need to keep it clean. Otherwise, it will die over the long term. So as much stuff we put in, we try and take stuff out. So, and I think we're quite good now at the migration of these things, although sometimes it is very complex. So we've removed Markdown email templates, moved entirely to sort of HTML editor, and that will all migrate for you guys. We've removed all of the radar widgets, and I'll demo that in a second, and removed a few other widgets, and they will migrate to other bits and pieces. That's release 7.10 at a very macro level. Release notes will come out pretty shortly, but hopefully some good stuff for you guys. I was going to just touch on the reporting piece and maybe do a couple of demos. So I've shown these slides, I'm guessing, for about a year, possibly longer. This is our next gen sort of data architecture. And we're slowly marching, actually not slowly, reasonably fast, marching through this stuff. So we released Fabric, I think, in 7.9, which gives you real-time reporting. I'm going to talk about that in a second. We've released a new suite of Power BI reports on the Fabric data model. Releasing the new report designer, report builder. That currently just uses list views. You choose the data source for it, and that's replaced all of our radar widgets. But the next up is basically enabling you to use the report designer against the ShareDo Fabric data warehouse, which I'm not going to commit to that actually, but it is in flight. And then we're really turning our attention to designers for various machine learning models, and all of this is super important because actually it's all of this data that's going to power things like the pricing assistant, give extra intelligent data to the lovely world of LLMs, which plainly, if they don't have good data, then they're no good to man nor beast, as I guess as Robin described at length. So that stuff's all moving on very quickly. I just wanted to spend a second talking, and we've used this slide before, but I just wanted to highlight two things. We don't tend to push people into adopting new features. So I think across our customer base, and I think there's about 50, 60 customers now, there's a handful of adopted Fabric, right? And that's fine. I think when you want to plan it into your schedule and look at it, we're here to help you, right? Big blue box on the top right hand. But nevertheless, we will be prioritizing the new reporting architecture in terms of feature enhancements. So there will be things that you'll be asking for, and we'll be doing them in Fabric world. So and plainly all of the Fabric data analytics stuff is going to be powering a lot of our assistance in the future. So whilst I don't think you need to move straight away if you don't want to, and it needs to be planned, I would encourage you to put that in your plans at some point in probably the next year, I'm guessing at latest. So yeah, enough said on that, hopefully. I wanted to spend a second on the radar widget. Dunk's demonstrated this previously. Let's see if we can get ShareDo up. Which window am I on? That window? Oh, that's good. Cool. All right, I'll spend a couple of minutes on this. Just and the reason I want to highlight this is that this is one of these migration things that happen. So you install version 7.10. We deprecated all of those I hated them, by the way, all those horrible radar widgets, and which were configurable to a certain degree, but I mean, certainly when I look across the feature enhancements from you guys, there was lots of, can you sort this out, make it more configurable, right? So all of those radar widgets go away, and people have created lots of interesting pages. So in theory, and it's very hard when everyone's created their own unique pages within the ShareDo Portal Designer. In theory, it should just replace them with some of these radars, some of these new reporting widgets, right? And so there's I mean, a lot of people seem to have a My Work page, and again, it should automatically look at that setup and put all these reporting widgets as well. It does that by basically looking at your config and going, oh, I need to do a bar chart based on this list view, or I need to do a column chart on this list view, or I need to do a stacked bar chart based on this list view, etc., etc. So a lot of those are pre-canned, but what you will see when you go to 7.10 is all radar widgets disappear, and I think I showed one a second ago, didn't I? But what might have sat there now gets these new reporting widgets, and from a back-end perspective, let me go out to full screen. What have I got here? Yeah, okay. Let's just refresh that. From a back-end perspective, you will get a bunch of migrated new reports, and I think from last time we demoed this, I won't go into detail. We've added the concept of a dashboard. So that's a collection of multiple reports. So we'll migrate, set these things up for you. That's all good. And then you're free to use the designer to tweak these, add your own, and then it's just going to the portal designer and dropping one of these reports or indeed a dashboard onto a page. So personally, I think this stuff's pretty cool. We're going to add support in the reasonably near future for querying all of the new Fabric stuff as well. I'm really excited to see some page designs that people do, because again, back to the idea of giving you tools and you can create. Certainly, you know, the stuff we're coming up with, I think it's pretty good, but when you've got a community of, you know, whatever, many hundreds of people now creating good stuff, I think there's going to be some really exciting stuff coming out of that. Cool. Okay. So that's all good. The other bit, I'm not going to really demo this. I'll just log on. Which apologies to Sean and Charles and all the rest of that team who spent a long time setting this stuff up, but I don't want to go on for too long. So the other piece is, based on the new Fabric stuff, is we've released a new set of sample reports. So all of the performance is pretty good. We're running against quite a data set, but you'll notice it's slightly slower than before, especially when I haven't warmed this up. But yeah, all of our new sample reports are running on live data. I was playing around with this yesterday. You can notice it's a little bit slower to render the first time, but it's still pretty fast. But the key win, and there's not much we can do about that, by the way. The key win is that data latency. So if I was to add a task, it typically appears in less than 100 seconds, or if I was to close a matter or open a new matter, these charts are moving. The data latency is really, really super quick, right? So all that stuff's available to you. We're not pushing it on you. It is a pull from you guys, but I would, again, back to the previous point, encourage you to plan that in, because I think there's some really good business benefits around this new reporting stuff. Yeah. Cool. I reckon that's probably me done, which is a result. Who's next in the agenda?
People with Office add-ins.
We're on to Philippe. Okay, let me stop sharing. And I'll hand over to Phil. If there's any questions, I'll pick up some questions now.
Okie dokie. Just go full screen. Oh, good. You should see my slides, yeah, because there's 50 buttons to press, which is all cool. So I'm not going to do a demo. I'm just going to give you a quick update. So really, we're excited to share some progress around the development of what we call ShareDo's brand new Office add-in for Word. So this one is designed for content authors and, you know, building on that thing to meet you where you work effectively. So while we've got a current add-in for Word, it supports both the template creators. So you guys out there tagging up the documents in the first instance, creating your masters. And it also supports content authors. So the people who are going into their cases and generating the content. And it does that in a single shared experience. Whereas the new Word add-in, focusing on the content creators, that's going to introduce like a clear separation of those roles effectively. So all the concerns, all of the features, and it'll bring that in line with the streamlined experience already familiar to those of you that utilize, you know, ShareDo's excellent Office add-in for Outlook. So development's well underway with this. We're entering a first round of like product quality assurance testing. The initial release, R1 MVP for Word add-in 2, will support a range of core journeys. So we're going to start directly from within Word. So you can start and manage your authoring journey without leaving Word. You can file authored content. So you can be in Word, open your Word document natively, and then file it away to your case, picking the repository and target, and also creating the subsequent chronology items in your case there. You can be in Word and you can inject live data through like tags in the context browser. You can use lots of reusable content, so things like your clause banks or legal arguments or things you share across your team. You can do instant refresh of your link content, so really cool where you could be working on a document that's moving around. You pick it up 2 days later and your data on your actual case has shifted, so you can instantly just give it a refresh. You can do finalization of documents, which is really cool. So you've done all of your drafting, you've inserted your live content, and that's a mixture of tags and content blocks and clauses, which are formatted in a particular way. You can just strip those out with a single click in terms of finalization, and things like converting that to a PDF really quickly, and also using the PDF sign-in for initiate PDF sign-in in there using your ShareDo digital signature. And as we do with the Outlook add-in, you can also do secondary actions on the linked items. So if you've got this document linked to a case, then you can do things like record or create additional tasks. So, hey, follow this one up, do this. You can also record time. And again, because you're recording time in the context of your linked item, any kind of like PTA, like your phase task activity filtering for that case, will be honored through your time entries. So you'll only see your time classification structures in the context. And the other really exciting thing is you'll get access to insights via ShareDo Ask. I know Ben has spoken a lot of this in the past, but that's things like how you can just go into your directly in Word in the add-in, you can ask for questions around your case. So, hey, get me up to scratch. What's the recent communications with the participant? When did we last provide any advice or anything like that? So there's much, much more, and super excited to have that incorporated in Word add-in version 2. So we're moving into like we say, a product QA cycle. Once we're through that and the quality is assured, we'll then mark that for release. But we're not stopping there. So design and development's already underway for a whole bunch of post release 1 enhancements. Some super exciting stuff on there. Quick file location, so pickers on your destination of your file, and managing the associated prep doc tasks. So if somebody generates a document inside of ShareDo, you pop it open in Word, and then you want to manage that associated task that might have downstream activities for workflows and things without leaving Word itself. Also doing things like quick delegate, reassign for the task activities, better support for your document questionnaires directly into Word. So where you've got forms that you pin to the document generation journey, where you're capturing data, you're switching content in your documents, so better support for that. And the really next level superpower really is Vincent content integration. So the whole generation piece in there, which is, we're all excited about. So there's a wave of, I guess, innovation coming out of the UX and app stream. All the cool kids live there, and I'm sure we'll showcase more of that in the future forums. But for now, I'm going to hand you over to Yaron, who's about to, I guess he's going to show you some document bundling magic. So thank you for that. I'll stop sharing if I can.
Thanks, Phil. Like at a macro level in that team, there's a lot going on, hey. But I think we're hoping to properly ship ShareDo Ask, although I think it's going to change its name. Get the word add-in out, and there's always like feature enhancements to go and all of the thing. And then the idea is to switch back onto Teams. And basically leverage a lot of the ShareDo Ask and a lot of the other bits and pieces we've been working on for a Teams client. I haven't got a release timescale for that. I mean, the designs are broadly complete, but we just need to ship these bits first. You're on.
Yeah, let me try and share my screen. Can everyone see bundling enhancements?
Yeah, all good.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, as Ben mentioned before, we've got a whole bunch of enhancements coming around bundling. And I've picked out a few to share with you today. So first up, we're going to be looking at how we tag bundle separators, such as title pages and section and document separators. At the moment, there's a bit of a split between Data Composer, which we use to access work item data, and legacy tag libraries, which we use to access bundle-specific data, such as the section names, pagination, and so forth. Going forward, we're going to be transitioning to first-class support in Data Composer, as you would get for standard document templates, and hopefully making it a lot more straightforward and intuitive to tag these bundle separator templates. As part of this, however, and going on what Ben was talking about with staying evergreen, we are going to be deprecating those legacy bundling tag libraries, but we'll be posting more information about that as and when the time comes. And when it comes to UX, we've also going to be investing in improving this side of things as well. So there are some smaller enhancements that have been requested by customers, as well as our own sort of internal consultants. As part of 7.10, for example, we've got configuration of the fields on display. So, for example, not everyone wants to see the document reference field. It's not relevant, and it's just taking up space on the blade. We're going to look at better support for drag and drop between sections. So when you're on the blade at the moment, there's some icons that let you click and move things around. Be much easier to be able to drag and drop stuff. But we're also going to be using this as an opportunity to take a step back and look at making bundling in ShareDo better. And around that, we're going to be looking at an improved UI, making the blade resizable or bigger, giving you more real estate. A custom portal that will make, for example, complex bundles with many sections and documents easier to work with. Previewing bundling, the bundle output if possible as well. We're going to be looking at better handling around errors when bundling fails, so being able to identify whether a document is password protected or there is a particular issue that makes it difficult for the system to convert to a PDF. We're also going to be looking at end user templates. So users will be able to create templates from existing bundles so that they can then reuse them easily in the future. And there'll also be some more enhancements around the bundle generation itself. So we've had in ShareDo for a while now the ability to enable the creation of a PDF outline and hyperlink table of contents, although it's been sort of labeled as a beta or experimental feature. It's been in for a while. I think we're happy with it now. We've made a few tweaks, and that will sort of come out of beta and into the product proper now. We're going to be able to configure the removal of blank pages. So if there are any blank pages in your document or the final bundle, you can sort of tell ShareDo to remove them. We're going to enable or look to enable configuration of the pagination. So defining if and when the counter restarts between sections and documents, or applying global numbering across documents as well. And yeah, that's very whistle stop tour of some of the bundling enhancements that are coming in future versions.
Thanks, Euron.
No worries.
So I think we're over to Jenny next to kickstart us on a few customer success things.
Okay, right. I'm going to try and be super quick. I always have problems with this, so I'm just going to waffle while I do it. It's like worse than trying to use Zoom. Right.
For those of you on the call that think Jenny's joking when she says she always has problems with this, she's not.
No. Right, let's see if that works. Can everyone see a presentation?
We can.
Okay, cool. Right, now you can see it in non. There we go. Right. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening around ShareDo education and some of the new things that you're going to be or can access online, which is good. But first of all, we've had a couple of clients talk to us. I'm going to try and say this properly, but the Mr. Charles Russell speechless case, which was the judgment last week around, and I put this in inverted commas, unqualified legal professionals in the litigation process. And what I just wanted to ask is if anybody's been impacted by this, and if you'd like to join together with a couple of other clients and have a talk about it and what the impact is, and whether or not there's a way that you can leverage ShareDo to help you with this, then get in touch with me or get in touch with your CSM, and we might try and put together a little bit of a forum just to talk through the implications of it, because I think there's quite a few people that have been impacted. So yeah, if you just get in touch with me directly or your CSM. Right, so on to training. So we talked a little bit in the previous forums around the change in the approach to the way that we're going to do training, and I wanted to show you some of the material that we're starting to put out now. And the general approach that we're now trying to take to training is to try and give like a full 360-degree view to anybody who's trying to deliver ShareDo projects or trying to deliver. And it all goes into that idea of shortening the onboarding journey. So we've broken down our training approach into 4 areas. So legal what, which is around giving people a foundational knowledge in legal, because what we're seeing is that as ShareDo grows, people are hiring in people who maybe haven't done legal before. You've got new people coming into your organizations. So we're trying to build out a kind of foundational training of, legal language, how law firms work, to try and help bridge some of that gap for people. Second part is kind of know it in ShareDo. So what do different bits of ShareDo do? Because the platform's very big and it's growing, and what we want to try and do is simplify that journey of being able to understand what you can do with the platform. So the second bit is just kind of training around what are the key features, how do you get value from it, how do you use it, and then starting to move on to the delivery side, the design it. So how do we design ShareDo? So for example, if we're looking at something like fees, how do you think about that? How do you go out to your business and collect the information? How do you think about that if you're a large law firm and make sure that what you're delivering is sustainable? And then finally, the kind of configure it. So a lot of that content's already on help, but how do you actually go ahead and configure the system? And kind of underlying all of that is that each of those things across the features build up a whole jigsaw puzzle of different bits of training. But how do you navigate that? How do you work your way through it? And so what we're doing is we're developing persona-driven learning journeys that will take you through that process. So for example, if you're somebody who just wants to get up to speed with legal because you're going to do a role in a project, we have a learning journey for that. If you're a project manager who maybe has a little bit of legal but maybe doesn't have an in-depth understanding of things that you might need to, and maybe just wants to get a top-level overview of what ShareDo does, then we build a persona to that. So we've got a number of different training channels, and one of which is a new one that I'm going to show you in a minute. So we've got the Clio Academy. So one of the many benefits of kind of coming into the Clio world is that Clio have an established academy where all of the kind of Clio training material is housed, and we are now starting to leverage that. So we're going to start to open up Clio Academy for ShareDo users. So that's going to be a series of online courses, and those persona-driven journeys we're talking about, you'll be able to subscribe to one of those journeys, and it will then take you through the courses that you need to do to fulfill that journey. We're still going to be doing online training because they're really popular. So that's our online instructor-led courses, and you can register for those via the ShareDo.com website. We're going to continue to do in-person courses for configuration. And for those of you based out in APAC, we're doing a configuration course in APAC at the beginning of November, which you can register for. And if you talk to your CSM, we can help you with that. But what we're also going to do with a view to kind of scaling out is we're starting to now also build out that in-person training course in an online format, so that you'll be able to kind of essentially go through that training process online as well if geographically you can't get to an in-person training. And then finally, we've got our knowledge base, which I know gets a lot of love. And just again, you've got ShareDo bot at the bottom. Don't forget him or her. I'm not sure. Maybe that's another poll. But really, really useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the Clio Academy and show you a little bit of that. So Clio Academy is a free online training platform available to all ShareDo customers. It's a pre-existing Clio resource that we're starting to now build ShareDo content into. And I put the URL in here to get to it, but we're going to send out some further comms as we release bits of training onto there. And so, to be honest, the easiest way to find it is to just type Clio Academy into Google, and that will take you straight to the Academy. To register for the portal is completely free. You don't need to be a customer of either ShareDo or Clio, but there is a login for it. So you will need to put in some details. And that's primarily because the tool's going to track your learning journey. So as you do courses or as you register things, it will enroll you and you'll be able to kind of leave the platform and come back. And over time, as the training that we've got in there grows, we'll start to look at doing things like certifications and badges that you can then take elsewhere. So, you know, become a ShareDo certified configurator and be able to take that badge with you. So let's have a little look at the platform, and I'll try and be really quickly. So hopefully you can see that now. So I pre-registered under a different email address and logged myself in. So this is the same journey that you would have when you came into the learning portal. It will track all of the courses that you've registered for, and it will track any of the learning journeys that you're taking. So if I just scroll down a little bit here, you can see that I've got a course that I'm doing in progress, which is the ShareDo Legal What on time recording. I've got a bunch of other courses that I've not started yet. And actually, if you click on learning journeys, you'll see that actually what that is, all those courses are, is part of my getting to know legal learning journey. So we can see here we've got a whole set of courses that I can go through, which will give me a high level foundational knowledge of different terminology, different concepts that you might encounter as part of a ShareDo project that you might want to get to know. So if I go and pick on one, so let's go for time recording, and I open that up. So what you'll get is you'll get an overview of the course, the various sections within the course. You can take your time, so you can exit the course and it will say your progress on it. And you can go through, there's different kind of formats of the training and interactive. It's kind of designed to be interactive as you go through it, and ultimately we'll do knowledge checks as well as we go through. So this one that I'm in now, that's live. So if you register for the Clio Academy, you'll be able to go in and do a legal concept training. And over the course of probably the next 6 weeks, we'll gradually be bringing more training online as we go through. And what we'll do is through the CSM infrastructure, we'll communicate that out. But I definitely recommend that you go on and log in. And if you type ShareDo in your search at the top, that will bring up any ShareDo training that you've got at the moment that's there. So that's it from me. I think I'm passing to Aaron next. Is that right?
You are, yeah.
That's all right.
Thanks. Just to add to that, there's a big investment area. I guess it's towards at the moment is in the education area. So with a few more people joining on that in that team, and I guess like we're really confident for one education needs to step up. I wonder if we're internally pitching, but anyway, we need to step up both the education to help make it easier to understand this stuff, but and then also step up on the product side to make it simpler, which we spoke about in terms of the onboarding accelerated stuff. Sorry, Aaron, over to you, mate.
No problem. Thanks, Ben. Firstly, can you see my screen? Cool. So I just wanted to give a brief update on our partnership program. So obviously we've been building this across the past 18 months to 2 years now, 24 months or so. And there's been a lot of growth in this area. So I just wanted to give an update on a brief update on our current partners and I guess some of the vision for the future. Bear with me a second. Okay, so our 2025 partners. So as of today, or nearing, this is close to or nearing the current sort of ecosystem of partners that we have. We focus on a couple of different types of partners. So we've got global partners, which are multi-regional, multi-jurisdiction, such as Moray and Harbour Global. We have other regional or specialist partners, whether that's in the Australian market or in APAC or the US or other jurisdictions, or in fact the UK. And then we also have our technical ecosystem partners, and this is really to help enhance the product and plumb into some of the other tech stack that our clients use across their technical landscape as well. So just a brief update on some of these partners. So Moray is a global partner across multiple jurisdictions, and they really are pretty much full service for us, and they've got like a lot of local expertise and broadly accelerating their time to value for our clients. Harbour are very, very similar in terms of their global scale. So they have a provider of expert services across strategy, legal tech, operations and intelligence. And they've got circa 800 consultants sort of spread out across the world. And then we move into some of our regional specialists. So we have Ultispective and Mosmar. Now, they've kind of done a merge into a Ultraspective as an entity, and they service the APAC region. And collectively, you know, they've got 25 years of experience in Australian legal practice management and technology consulting. Then we moved down to sort of ClearRock, who are an independent legal tech delivery that really solve like real business problems, and with a focus on sort of change management and program management, and helping roll out that type of adoption across the firm. And we're currently working with Evolving Technology, also offer sort of digital transformation leadership, and really help clients define their business strategy and sort of really realize that roadmap in terms of rolling that out across the business to meet the, you know, the evolution of the digital age. Then we have some more specialist partners as well, such as IDS. So IDS effectively specialize in data migration and test automation and data quality. So they help to streamline that complex data migrations and resilient systems across your business, and sort of get that old data into ShareDo. And then we also have Aprilis, which is quite a new one for us, and they really focus on both business change and transformation specialists across both the public, but importantly for us both the private sector and importantly for us the public sector too. So just to, if you need any more information on our partners and their explicit sort of service offerings and what I've kind of probably butchered here today, then please do reach out and we can make some introductions and give you a little bit more of an in-depth overview on some of their areas of expertise. And I just really wanted to touch on sort of the partnership vision that we have. So our vision really is to build a world-leading global partnership program that evangelizes legal tech and delivers sort of unmatched value to clients, accelerates innovation and drives that sustainable growth across both ourselves, our partners, and our clients too. We want to empower our partners to succeed through shared enablement, go-to-market strategies, and importantly, a relentless focus on delivering excellence to our clients together. How we facilitate that really is, you know, we build in a structured and scalable sort of partnership ecosystem. We want to broadly leverage, we understand the nuances of jurisdictional or regional or even practice group specific areas of expertise and specialism that's required. And we can sort of really leverage our partners' expertise in that area to either accelerate entry into new markets, but also to help provide that expertise to our clients. And broadly, the global model really ensures that, you know, as ShareDo grows globally, that, you know, our customers in any region can really receive that high quality regional service that you know you guys need. A massive one for us is certainly quality and consistency, and it's going to touch a little bit on some of the stuff Jen referenced, but you know, we're established a rigorous enablement program and governance frameworks to ensure that partners are delivering to the highest standard. But also we're leaning on what Jen referenced in terms of the ShareDo Academy, and we really want to build out that sort of center of excellence and certification framework that, you know, people can broadly get certified and upskill in ShareDo for both clients and partners and the like. And as with everything that we do, sort of customer success is at the heart of our journey. So, you know, we want to position ShareDo and its partners together as really sort of trusted advisors and partners to our clients to help sort of maximize the investment that they've made in ShareDo and really achieve their strategic goals. And with that as well, you know, we want to offer our clients sort of additional value, complementary services, local market presence, and in really focus on that innovation and expertise that both ShareDo and our partners can provide our clients. And a really important one for us is not only partner enablement, but client enablement. So, you know, ShareDo's and partners really, we're really invested in sort of training our client teams and really building onto that journey of self-sufficiency. So our clients can become confident and independent users of ShareDo. And then importantly, the delivery and sort of business as usual aspect, you know, building up to go live and post go live, that we really want to try and drive that faster time to value. And our partners really help us accelerate that onboarding and implementation program of work, hopefully enabling our clients to really realize the benefits of rolling out ShareDo quicker. And then importantly, and as we're all aware, you know, we never stop learning, we never stop innovating. The product and the legal landscape, everything evolves. So we really want to have our partners help provide sort of support, managed services, and really help collectively sort of continue that optimization and sustained value utilizing ShareDo moving into the future. And that's my brief update on partners. So as I said, if you've got any sort of queries or you want any more information on any of our partners, then please do feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I think like the demand for sort of ShareDo skills and services is growing quite dramatically. I mean, as Aaron said, we're investing massively in partners because our intention is not to grow our own professional services in the same exponential manner. I think, I might be wrong on this, I think the PS team is about 30 odd people. I think there's about another 15 hires for next year. But if you look across the skills in the partner community, and that's growing, I mean, some of those partners are newer, some are than others. My gut feel is there's many hundreds of people within the partner community. So it's super important for us and hopefully a good value-added service for you guys as well. Yeah. Over to Fran.
So client billing. So this is the tool that will allow you to take all the fees, any expenses, disbursements that you've recorded onto a matter, and then go ahead and turn that into a client invoice. So those transactions will be automatically linked to the specific bill they're included on. So any amounts will be automatically calculated. By default, the module will suggest that you include all unbilled entries on the next bill. So that should hopefully minimize the chance of you missing any transactions and reduce the risk of any lost revenue. And this will all be done in a user-friendly sort of step-by-step billing wizard guide that will guide you through that process. And as you do that, you'll have opportunity to review the content of the bill and edit and make any adjustments before you go ahead and finalize. Now, if we were to look at the billing requirements across our client base, they're probably quite diverse. There's probably lots of complexity within those. So when we do the initial launch of billing, we're not going to hit every single requirement. We're going to get the core function out there so you can bill the transactions. But we see this very much as a product that was probably going to be continually enhanced post initial release. So it will be that the features are improved and added to as we've launched the product. So to give you an idea of how this will work, the billing wizard will be a guide. You'll come in and you'll have opportunity to review the fees, disbursements, final review, and then preview the document. Now, throughout this process, we will have a banner at the top of the screen that we can see here in green, and that will show you the pertinent values of your invoice. And this will update real time, so you'll be able to see the total fees on the total bill, any disbursements, any tax, and this will update as and when you make any adjustments to the transactions you want to include. Crucially, we'll also surface, as well as the value that you're billing, we'll also show you the information about any unbilled balances that you've left on there. And we think that's quite key because if you're drafting your bill and you think you've picked everything up, maybe you've accidentally deselected something, maybe somebody's created some more fees, you might want to see any unbilled values, and that can help you decide whether you need to include those on your invoice. So we're going to make sure that information is always shown to you. Now, as you track through and you look at the transactions within your bill, you will have different list views where they'll itemize the different transaction types. So taking this fixed fee list as an example, these are all the fixed fees that are on your invoice. You will be able to select these and trigger bulk action menus. So it might be you need to select several and say, I don't want to bill these now, I'm going to exclude these from my bill. That would go ahead and leave those as unbilled so you could pick them up on any subsequent bill. Alternatively, you might want to decide, actually, I'm going to write these transactions off. So you'll have the opportunity to do that, and whether you want to do it one at a time or by bulk selecting multiple transactions. Within the module, we also recognise you might, as you're reviewing the bill, think, oh, actually, I've got some transactions missing. So we will allow you to add any new fees or any new transactions directly from within the billing module. So that should hopefully make the process a bit more efficient. You don't need to leave the bill and go into a different part of ShareDo to create anything extra. You'll be able to do that directly from within this billing wizard tool. We'll be including filters for these lists as well. Particularly for time transactions, you might find there's numerous entries, and there might be, 50, 60 line entries. So we'll have a filter in here so that you'll be able to sort that data and maybe review it. Maybe you want to view a time for a particular time recorder, time for a particular time activity. So we'll have all these filter options built in to help you review the bill content as efficiently as you need to do. There's a few features that we're going to include in the billing from the off, one of which is the ability to apply a discount or an uplift to your fees. So if your total fees in this example are 1,420, you might want to uplift that or discount that. So when you do that, you'll have the option. So if we said we wanted to apply a discount, you'll have the option there as to decide what type of discount. Is it based on a percentage? So just a 5% discount across the board, or do you want to fix a set amount? So rather than saying a percentage, we just want to apply a straight £500 discount. So you'll have the option to decide how to apply those discounts or uplifts and ultimately adjust your bill values. You'll be able to do that at different points at the draft process. Now, this example on screen is assuming you've done all the transactional review and you're looking at the summary level bill values. So you can apply it at this summary level, but you could also apply discounts at line item level if you wanted, or again, multi-line item. Maybe there's 5 or 6 items you need to discount for whatever reason. You'd have the opportunity to do that as well. Once you've reviewed your bill, you're happy with the transactions you've included within it, you'll get a final review where you can see the summary level figures. At this point, you'll always be able to go back. You can always get back to the line item and review and edit if you needed to do that. You'll also be able to decide whether you want to use any money on account. So is there any trust money or client account money, depending on what your terminology is, that you want to use to reduce the overall amount that you're expecting your client to send you. So in this example, we've got a bill total of 2,750. We're taking off 1,000 from the client account ledger. And so therefore, the client only needs to pay you the 1,750. So you'll have the chance to do that. And as we move further down the roadmap and enhance our client or trust accounting functionality, some of this will be improved and it will be able to suggest balances that are held in the client or trust account for you. Once you're happy with the bill content, you'll be able to preview that and that would open up a document and you'll be able to see the document that potentially could be sent out to your client. As you'd expect, you'll be able to have different document templates for the bill, so you'll have a choice. You'll be able to design your own. And you'll be able to assign defaults for particular clients, for particular types of work. And you'll also be able to change this at this point as well. So if there is a default, but for whatever reason you need a different one, you'll be able to change this for this particular bill. Now, some of the features we want to make sure that we offer as well as part of our billing functionality will be split billing, and ShareDo will support 2 different types of split bill. So this is where there's one bill with one set of transactions, but actually you need to split out and make this payable by more than one person. So we'll allow you to do a proportional split. So that will be based on different parties needing to pay a different proportion of the bill. It might be it's an equal 50-50, or it might be in this example, they're doing a 60-40. So you can say what share of the bill that person should pay or company. This one's got 2 entities, but you could have as many as you need to do that. So that'll be a list that you can define. As long as it comes up to 100%, you'll be able to split that proportional bill amount per person or per company, and then they'll be liable to pay that proportion of the bill. The other type of bill split we'll support is a net and tax split. So one person's going to pay the net and one entity will be paying the tax. So you'll be able to do that bill splitting for ShareDo as well. Now, this is an area where we might then future enhance this, maybe rather than it just being one entity paying the net, one entity paying the tax, maybe you need to split that as well. So maybe 2 entities are responsible for the net, 1 entity for the tax. So we'll be probably looking to enhance this as well once we've got the initial split functionality out there, depending on the needs of the customer base. We will be including fee apportionment. So if you bill fees of £1,000, who's going to get credit for those fees? Which people in your firm do you want to give credit for? So this might be important if you've got a firm where you target your fee earners, matter owners, based on how many fees they can bill. So this decides who gets credit. Now, out of the box, we'll be supporting different default fee apportionment rules or methods. So that might be that you want the fees to be split between the time recorders. They get the proportional pro rata split. It might be that you want any hourly fees to go to the people that recorded them, but any fixed fees on the matter, perhaps they should go somewhere else, maybe the matter owner. So you'll be able to design those out of the box rules. And then at the point of billing, based on user permissions, you will be able to manually override those as well, because there's always some exceptions. It might be that you've got a certain person you don't want to have fees and you want to overwrite that and give their share to somebody else. And when you do that, like I said, for the uplift and discount, you'll be able to decide whether you want to amend that based on giving a different percentage share to a person, or that whether you want to give a specific amount. So you'll have that option. And once you've finished the editing, so long as the value that you've allocated comes back to the total value of the fees, you'll be able to progress and keep that updated fee apportionment split. Now, billing on its own, it needs supporting features. So along with billing, we'll be looking to introduce credit notes. If you need to do a credit note because you've done a bill incorrectly, you need to be able to undo that. So we'll be adding in that type of functionality. You'll need to be able to potentially write off the bill. Maybe it's not collectible, so we need to support that as well. So we'll be adding that feature. And then probably once we've done the initial bill launch, we'll be looking to add billing scheduler tools. And there'll be different types of scheduling methods. Maybe for some type of work, you need to bill it monthly. It's an ongoing file, maybe debt collection, and you want to do a regular monthly bill. Or maybe you need to bill it once it reaches WIP of a certain value. Maybe it's once, I don't know, a particular milestone on a matter's been reached. So you'll be able to design those bill schedules to meet the needs of your firm. And how that's going to work is ultimately it will draft invoices and then you'll have opportunity to review or approve them before they're finalised and posted. But as always, we'd love your feedback on what you think our billing module should contain. So if you've got any challenges with your current billing process, really keen to hear what those are. If there's any must-haves, things that you really like with your current billing functionality, again, please do share that. And if you've just got any general suggestions or ideas that you think would make a good addition to any billing functionality, please do let us know. If you have any thoughts on that, my email is francine.eastwood@clio.com. So please feel free to share those ideas that you may have, because we're definitely keen to hear them and see if it's something we can include or indeed something we've already considered and added as part of the roadmap. And that's me. Thank you very much. I think I'm handing back to Ben now.
Yeah, thanks, Fran. Like we're trying to do less future stuff, but if I look at the stuff that the client billing stuff that Fran was describing, I think it is really hot on the list of requested features, and we're only showing stuff when it's fully staffed up, ready to go. So whilst I haven't got a timeline, and it is a big piece of work, I would like to think we're shipping that around Q1. That's certainly what I would hope. It might be sooner, it might be later, but definitely it's on the short-term horizon. We've done pretty well. We're only 10 minutes late, hey, which is actually an achievement. Usual sort of wrap up. Thank you as always. Massively appreciate. Back to the first slide. Massively appreciate your investment, your trust. We always aim to pay that back in bucket loads. Loads of events coming. Feel free to register them. Training's always going to be free. So maybe I'll wrap up and say thanks to everyone who's invested the last 2 hours and 10 minutes with us, and for everyone who's presented and the work they've put into it. Signing off now. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Yeah.